Well, if you've been following along in this series on my 1987 Ford LN9000 that I've been rebuilding for, well, shoot, it's going on a year and a half now. And really, it's really been done for like almost 6 months. But if you've watched the videos, you've heard me talk about how one of the last things I have to do on that truck is some engine modifications, and I ended up going bigger than what I planned. What's new, right? So enough of me talking. I'm gonna turn this around and show you what we got. Now this is gonna be a little bit different video. I'm not gonna film part of it, and I'll explain why, but we'll show you what we're gonna do, and then I'll bring it back once it's said and done. I'll be honest with you, that's probably gonna be in a week or 2 or 3, and you won't know that because, as I keep talking about, the magic of video and YouTube is that you're gonna see this all as one video. But even once I get all this done, I can't drive the truck right now because it's March, and because we got 6 inches of wet snow 24 hours ago, and I'm not taking that truck out on nasty wet dirt roads. So when we get a day where it's nice, we'll take her for a spin. But so sit tight, you'll see it all at once, rest assured. So let's see what we got.
Ta-da! So yeah, we're doing injectors and a turbo on the old L10. So what these are is I got these from Premco Diesel down in Texas, who gave me the info on them and kind of introduced me to them is Cab Over Gary. If you guys watch his channel on YouTube, if you don't, you really should. But he has a Freightliner cab over with an L10, and I kind of talked to him about who he's used, and these guys are kind of Cummins specialists. I know there's a few other shops around the country that are, but you know, they came recommended. So, you know, at the end of the day, whoever I use is going to ship me the injectors one way or the other. So shipping's not a big deal. So what these are is these are 10% over injectors for my L10. Then we've got a bunch of miscellaneous parts. Here's our new turbo. So factory on the L10, or on my L10, it was a Holset H2C. So this is essentially still a Holset H2C, and I don't know the part numbers or the details, but I had a local shop rebuild this for me, somewhat local anyway. They're in Detroit, Superior Turbo, very well-known shop. And what they did for me is they put a slightly smaller exhaust housing on, you know, same outlets, same size, but just a little bit smaller exhaust housing, so she'll spool a little bit faster, and then a slightly larger compressor housing. It's 4 millimeters larger on the wheel and the housing. So what that's going to do, 4 millimeters, you know, it's not much, you know, but you know, incremental amounts make a big difference on a turbo. So the hopes is what this is going to do is, it's going to bolt back on exactly the same spot. I can use exactly the same exhaust. I can use exactly, this is a new one from Cummins, but you know, a new, exactly the same couplers. Everything stays stock, but she spools a little faster and she pushes a little more air while she's doing it. And that's to take advantage of my pump that's turned up, my number 7 fuel button, and then these 10% over injectors. You know, this is all a little bit loose, but still somewhat planned out. You know, I talked to both of these companies about what I was doing on either end, and they recommended everything from there. Premco's really good about, I mean, they're tapped right into the Cummins system. So once I gave them my CPL on my motor, and my ESN and my CPL, you know, the critical parts list is what CPL is for you people who aren't well versed on the Cummins terminology. That's the term they use. But based on my CPL, they said, I probably wouldn't. If you've already got the pump turned up and you're already gonna send some more air, I would not. They just didn't recommend going to 20% over on the injectors. They said, even though, you know, you're not pulling much, you're going to pull sometimes, and we just think safety-wise, you're better off to stick with 10%. They said you're going to be more than happy with what that is. So anyway, we got a whole bunch of miscellaneous parts, studs and gaskets, and a new turbo oil line made, and then we got a rocker cover gasket set here. Or not set, it's just one big gasket, because I figure the old one's not leaking, but you know, it's 30 some odd years old, so we probably ought to put one on when we have the the rocker cover off, the valve cover off. So what I have going on now is I'm trying to get this turbo hung. I got to get the Doghouse out of the truck, and I got to get the valve cover off because my brother-in-law, who is he actually works for Michigan Cat, does big and large engine rebuilding, but he's been a diesel mechanic for many, many years, and he is coming over with his inch-pound torque wrench and his spec book and everything else, and he's going to help me get these injectors in, and obviously we're going to run the overhead, which this truck desperately needs. But we're going to run the overhead while we're at it, get her tuned up, hopefully tone down on the smoke a little bit, get her running just a little bit better, and yeah, I'm excited. This is cool stuff, guys. All right, so I'll bring you back probably, honestly, when this is all said and done, and we're testing her out, so hang tight. All right, guys, well, I think the only time I ever had this filmed with the Doghouse off was, you know, way back over a year ago when this thing was in the barn. It was kind of dark. So there you go. Literally half the motor is behind the firewall. Actually, probably almost, I'd say a little better than half. I mean, you can see cylinders 1, 2, and 3. And, you know, the Doghouse actually ends about midway through. Well, I should say that's 6, 5, and 4. And the Doghouse ends midway through 3. So, yeah. A lot of that motor. That's why obviously Doghouse has to be off. Good access, you know, it's not bad, especially for doing this job. But yeah, so I got it prepped. My brother-in-law will be here shortly, and we'll get going. And in the meantime, I've got that girl hung. I hate turbos, PS. I hate dealing with them on a truck, but it's on. Pain in the butt, but we got it on. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to run this today because I forgot that this fitting that goes from the oil filter block up to the turbo oil line, I broke. It was old, and I didn't order it, so obviously can't start this motor. And I also didn't pay attention, but my when they made me my new lines and whatnot, my the shop did not give me a second 3-inch T-bolt clamp like I asked for, so gotta get another one. I've got the old one that still kind of works, but I want to run a new one. But she's hung. Might try to get the exhaust on if I get enough time, but yeah, we're making progress. All right, well, before we get to running this thing, and which, by the way, I've been dying for, you know, again, it's a week later, well, 6 days later, since I put the hung the turbo and we ran the overhead and we put in those new injectors. Injectors, the cores have been sent back. They're already back in Texas. Got a call from Premco yesterday. They got them, and they refunded my credit card for the cores. So it's done, but I haven't gotten to run this damn thing, and I have just been I've been like a kid the week before Christmas, quite frankly, because I want to run this thing. I don't know. I can't tell, but I might be able to take it for a short spin. If I drive slow down the dirt section, pavement should be dry today. I might take it for a drive. But anyway, I got the two things I've been waiting for. One is my T-bolt clamp I was missing, and the other is this fitting. Yeah, that's $51 plus shipping. PS from Cummins. My local Cummins store didn't have it, and they don't like to answer their freaking phone. I think it's because when you call in, you have to say whether you're a dealer or just a private customer, and I always just am honest, and I probably shouldn't be, but anyway, they wouldn't answer their phone for me to find out whether they had it, so I ordered it from Cummins, so it shipped out of Indiana. So yeah, that thing cost me like $60 for the stupid little fitting, and it's kind of an oddball, it's an O-ring tension on one side, and and whatever you call those on the other side. I wanted to say AN, it's not an AN, but at any rate, we got it. It is what it is. So I'm gonna go out. The only thing left to do, so we've got to get this thing on so we can tighten down that turbo oil line. We've got to get the other T-bolt clamp on the turbo connector line, the output line out of the turbine housing, and I've got the exhaust, the downpipe in place, but I got to get it just perfect and get that V-band clamp on and all that good stuff. Monkey with it a little bit more. After that, it's really we've already done the valve covers back on, Doghouse is back on. After that, it's really just the air box has to go back on, and there's a couple heater hoses that kind of route through there, and I got to top up coolant. So
I'm gonna do that off camera because it's kind of boring, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna bring you guys back when I can set you up, and I'm gonna let you watch unedited video of the first time we fire this. My brother-in-law warned me. He said you might get a little bit of short-lived hydrolocking when it cranks over. I'm sure it's gonna be a little smoky right off the bat. You know, we oiled up those O-rings on the injectors before we put them in. The good thing about it having to feed a little more fuel through to those injectors is it's going to allow me to run that starter for just it's not going to take long, but a few seconds to let that oil pump push oil through the oil line into the turbo. So it's actually really good timing that we did the injectors at the same time, because she's not going to kick off and fire right off the bat. It'll let that that turbo get some oil before it starts spinning at, you know, 25,000 RPM. So I'm gonna go do all that off camera. I will bring you back and set you up when we're done, and I'm so pumped. I'm gonna see how this thing runs. Said I wasn't going to drive it, but to be honest with you, I think I'm going to drive it because she's running good. She hiccuped a little bit on the injectors the first couple minutes of running. You might have saw it in the video, depending on where I edit that out at, but she smoothed right out. She spit a little oil out of the V-band clamp to the downpipe right off the bat, but sealed right up. That's just the the turbo seals sealing a little bit, so I'm gonna take it easy, but we're gonna go for a drive. Why not? It's a beautiful day. Oil pressure's good. Temp's starting to come up a hair. She rolls nice and black out of the stuff. She got moved a little bit. A little rust on the old clutch. So we're gonna have to take it real easy on the dirt here, because it is muddy out there. It's March, boys. We'll take it easy though. And see how she rolls. I'll try to shut my yapper so you can just listen. jump up, we get on it, that turbo cools it right down. That's awesome. Oh, yeah. Less coal out of the pipes. She'll send a little bit up when you're sitting, you know, coming off idle on the snap. I'm sure between gears with a load on it, trailer behind me, she'll roll a little bit, but that's a good thing. Less black smoke means she's actually burning and making horsepower out of it. Alright guys, well, I'm standing up on top of the truck, just checking out all the, you know, clamps and fittings and looking for leaks after that drive, but so far so good. Bear with me while I jump there. You can see that's where that oil spit out of the exhaust housing, but she dried up. She certainly changed her colors already, didn't she? That's how it goes. But it looks like that's drying up. You know, that's expected to have a little bit of those turbo seals got a seat and get where they belong. Ended up doing took me a little longer to get everything assembled because I ended up taking apart all these old big hose clamps on the intake and took them apart, wire wheeled them, anti-seize on the threads, and new quarter 28 lock nuts on all of them. And glad I did it. That way they come off nice and easy. There's that new line down there, that new fitting, but turbo looks good. She smokes a whole lot less at you know, at idle and just sitting around. So that's awesome. Way less smoky. And as I drove, I was, you know, I had my blind spot mirror turned up. I was watching that stack and was clearing up even more as I drove. So we need to get some miles on it and let it do its thing. But I'm excited. That was money well spent. So if any of you guys out there, I know there's not a lot of info out there on the L10 and on you know, the H2Cs turbo. Some of these I think had H2Bs or Ds. I don't know. I think most of them had H2Cs, but there's just not a lot of info out there on you know, the trucks or the engines or the turbos. So if any of you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But I'll tell you, I've got about with tax out the door, around a little over 1,100 into the turbo, and injectors were, you know, all in about
with shipping and everything, about 450 bucks. And then I had, I don't know, maybe another 100, 150 into lines and fittings and miscellaneous, you know. Well, actually maybe a little more than that, because that valve cover gasket for this L10 wasn't cheap from Cummins. So, but anyway, I if you want to call it, you know, 1,700 bucks on the high side is turbo and injectors in this thing. And obviously in my case, I lashed my own valves. I ran the overhead myself. That was free. If you pay a shop to do that, it's not going to be free. You're going to be, I would say, a couple grand to have a shop run the overhead, but maybe even more depending on labor rates and whatnot. But anyway, one of the cooler things I've done to this truck. I am thrilled with it. So, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Please like, that helps so much. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, whatever you want to do. Appreciate you guys watching, and I hope this is helpful to any of you guys that want to work on your L10. Good old fashioned reliable mechanical motors. Y'all take care.